Right, grade 11. Let's carry on. Now what we did is we started with a balance of raw material stock. We added the cash and the credit purchases, and 93,000 Rand of my raw materials was issued to, and that was my raw material stock. And that went to the raw material issued account. Right, I've got my nominal accounts, which the first one is my raw material stock. I have got indirect material, I've got wages, I've got electricity, I've got factory rent, I've got repairs and depreciation. And all these nominal accounts must be closed off to some cost account, to any one of these three cost accounts. Okay, so let's do that quickly. Now let's start with the raw materials issued. Now, raw materials issued, I'm sure you would know that that must be closed off. And this all happens on the end of March. Please write that in your books. I just don't have the time for it. I don't want the video to be longer than 10 minutes. So this is closed off to my direct material cost. So direct material cost, 93,000 Rand. It closes off. And I debit my direct material cost with raw materials issued, and it's 93,000 Rand. Okay, write in your date. Okay, so let's do all the other expenses. It's indirect material, that goes to my factory overheads. Okay, indirect material always goes to my factory overheads. Indirect material, because it's not material that has got to do directly with the units that are produced, but you can't do without those indirect materials, and that's why it goes to factory overheads. The wages also goes to factory overheads. Now, very important, gentlemen, you have to look in your textbook, and where is my textbook, that the wages, 358, in your textbook, this is very important, that my wages, 80% was direct labor and the rest was indirect labor. And my direct labor, of course, will go to my direct labor cost account or direct labor cost account, and the rest will go to factory overheads. Right, so 80% of this will go to direct labor cost, so that's 24,000 Rand, and the rest will go to factory overheads. I'm just going to abbreviate now, gentlemen. Okay, so that closes off. It goes to indirect labor. Oh, now this is wages. Sorry, gentlemen, this is wages. And that goes to the factory overhead, and the 24,000 Rand goes to my direct labor cost, wages. Right, so the wages were split up. 80% was direct material and the rest was factory overheads. And that would be wages for the cleaners or whatever. Right, electricity. Now, electricity is also split up. You will see that electricity, 70% of my electricity is allocated to production. The rest of the electricity, we just assume that might be the offices, but we don't worry about that now. So we just close off electricity to factory overheads only, the 70%, so that's 3,500 Rand. Don't worry about the 1,500 now. We'll do that at a later stage. We're not there yet. Right, so in my factory overheads, I've got electricity, and that's 3,500 Rand. Right, so I've got factory rent, and I think all the rent for the factory was for the factory. That goes to factory overheads. Repairs also, that's also repairs on factory stuff, so that goes to the factory overheads. And my depreciation was depreciation on machinery of the factory, so that has to go to the factory overheads, 2,000 Rand. If it was depreciation on the office computers or whatever, it would go to a different spot, but we're not there yet. So this all goes to factory overheads. So what have we got here? We've got factory rent, that was 12,000 Rand. We've got repairs of the factory machinery, and that was 2,500 Rand. We've got depreciation, 2,000 Rand. Right, so all my expense accounts are now, no, not that one, but don't worry about that. That's closed off. It has to be closed off to a cost account, so they're all closed off. And now these accounts must be closed off too. My cost accounts must also be closed off. And these accounts are closed off to my work in process. And that's 93,000 Rand. work in process, because the work cannot continue without my direct material cost, my direct labor cost, or my factory overheads. Right, so that's it. And this goes to work in process. And that, if you add that up, you will get 33,000 Rand. Right, so what is debited? My work in process is debited, and this all happens at the end of the month. Okay, so it's direct material, and that was 93,000 Rand. It was direct labor, and that was 24,000 Rand. And it was factory overheads, and that was 33,000 Rand. Okay, so those are all the costs involved when manufacturing my goods. Now, in your book, 90% of the production that was started during March was completed by the end of the month. Oh no. Is it going on? Sorry. I thought the video stopped. All right, so of all this, 90% was finished. And I don't want finished goods in my work in process. I want to transfer it to my finished goods stock. So if you take those, all three, and you times it by 90%, you get 135,000 Rand. And that is transferred to my finished goods. So I'm going to write there, finished goods. And in my finished goods account, on the debit side, I have work in process, 135,000 Rand. Right, so that's it. Gentlemen, if you do this, please write in your dates properly. Please balance these three accounts. The rest are all closed off, except for your, I think, was it electricity? So you just ignore electricity, or you can give it a balance. It doesn't really matter at this stage. So, but these three accounts are really, really important. Okay, so tomorrow, so you are going to do this today. You're going to watch this video again. Make sure that you understand this 100%, because this is going through to grade 12 as well. And you need to understand it for us to go on. Right, it's really not difficult work, but just follow the video very carefully, and then you do activity 10.11 on your own, and and then you can just look at your planning. I think we're 1 day behind now. Yes, so don't worry too much about that. Tomorrow is then 10.11, and then Friday 10.12. Yeah, no, then you're not behind. Okay, grade 11, thank you.